Hey everybody, Cindy Daycheck with Queen Bee Creations. Yeah, just a little bit crazy. Sorry, I'm a little bit late, but Facebook didn't want me to go live for whatever reason. So, exited, tried a couple of times. Here we are. We are here to do day 2 on this big antique buffet. We did 3 colors together. Yesterday we had added in sunshine yellow, summer crush, which is a bit of an orange color, and cowgirl coral, all of the DIY paint line, clay-based paint, and blended them together. I put a picture on the Facebook page for Queen Bee Creations so that you could see what it looked like when all of that was finished. We did kind of a light base coat and then a slightly heavier second base coat of those 2 colors, and you can see how bright and vibrant it was. This doesn't look as bright and vibrant because it already has 2 layers of a very diluted wash that has been sprayed over it. One, just because I wanted to give you an idea of how faint they were going to look, but we're going to do exactly the same. So what this had was just this little misting bottle, and I added 2 teaspoons of letterpress gray. Now, you can do this with any other chalk paint line. It doesn't have to be this DIY clay-based paint, but you may find that you need to add a little bit more paint. One, I need it to be pretty darn thin to be able to go through the misting bottle. This is not a sprayer, it's a mister. And that's kind of important because the spray bottle will give you much heavier coverage than what I'm after. And each coat has to dry fully between. So we're just going to do a little bit today. This is going to be a shorter video. But that was letterpress gray today, which is just kind of like this soft gray. You can kind of see on the spoon that I had used. The dark is where it's wet. So let me open up the can and you can see. So it's just a nice soft gray to kind of start. And you can see that already it's added kind of this gray tone to it. It's dulled down those bright, vibrant colors. You'll see that there's some drips. I don't mind that. I left those and I will leave that as we continue. You can see that it's just kind of this mid-tone gray, right? So this next, let me just bang that closed before my dog kicks it over on me. This next layer, and this is, I'm going to do exactly the same thing, right? So this next wash layer is going to be in a color called Apothecary from the line, and I just got gook all over. So it's kind of like this light, kind of farmhousey green tone. Not quite, it's not deep enough to be a sage, a little darker to be a celery. So yeah, Apothecary. I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to open up this bottle, which maybe has, let's see if it says how many ounces it is. No, it doesn't. So I would say this is maybe not quite a cup, maybe about 3/4 of a cup of water. And I'm just taking my spoon and I'm going to spoon in 2 teaspoons, just roughly, of that Apothecary, of that pale green. Now the idea behind this, okay, in terms of what I'm doing, I didn't want to just paint on the wash. That would actually be, and now I've got paint all over my fingers from taking it off. That would be a heavier look than what I was looking for. I wanted kind of, this is in my head, I haven't actually seen this technique of continually adding different washes with a spray bottle. So I'm playing at this point, I'm experimenting. I like how it went to start, just shaking all this up. But I don't know, we'll see as I add more and more layers how it looks. If I absolutely hate it, then I will paint over it, right? But my thinking is this: I wanted to do the grays. Now this has got 2 coats of the wash. So you put on 1 layer of the wash, let it dry fully, then do another layer of the wash. So with the green, I'm looking at doing 2 more layers. All right? And I'm just doing this and getting leakage all over the hardwood floor, of course. So I'm looking at doing the same. I'm going to do 1 coat of this green, and then let it dry, do another coat of the green, right? So I will get that done today. I then have a kind of a skeleton key, which is kind of a cross between this, which is the apothecary that I'm putting on. It's kind of a greeny gray. It's a little bit deeper. And then I also have Old School, which is a much deeper gray color. That one I would use more judiciously. But I'm thinking that I'll do the green, then I'll do this slightly, well, it's kind of a lighter gray. I may go back and do another, I don't know what I'm going to do. Really, that's the bottom line. We'll see. We'll see what this looks like. What I might do is go into the Old School, the darker gray, and do 1 kind of wash of that, see how much of the other colors. It really depends upon, after I've done 2 of the green, what I'm starting to see through this. I'm thinking maybe I'll go to the dark gray and do 1 coat, and then come back and do that mid-tone gray 1 coat, and maybe finish with that. See how much of the colors are peeking through. I do want to distress this piece. So I do want to be able to get down to a little bit of the wood, a little bit of the undercolors, but we'll see how it goes. Now, I will say this. This was starting to jam up my mister beforehand, but you can see, so I'm having to squirt it and then pull the handle out. But you can see how lightly that comes out. And as I'm doing this, I am seeing like spritzes. Can you see that green coming across here? So it is layering on color, and perhaps more than, whoops. And see here, the spritz are kind of stuck. Where's my finger go? Finger goes here, and you see how it started to kind of run and drip? I kind of like how that is working out, to tell you the truth. So it's kind of giving me a look, kind of a soft look in some spots and a little bit heavier in others, which is nice because it's not working the same for each layer that I put on, right? It was different in different spots for some of the gray that went on, and now with some of this green. So you're getting a lot of variation in it, which I'm kind of liking, and which I wouldn't get if I was laying the wash on with a brush. And that was kind of my thinking in looking at doing this with the mister, that if it would work, and if I'd be able to get the paint coming out of it, that I'd be able to just slowly add on layers and build up the depth of color and be able to stop when I determined that I had kind of the depth of the look that I was after. So you can kind of see as I'm building this up, it's not a fast process, but it's because we're putting the color on bit by bit in little bits, right? So as this color is going on, I am looking at getting an idea of next colors. I do know that we want to go into that darker gray at some point. I do want that mid-tone gray again at some point. I'm kind of liking the look of this softer green with some of those other colors. And I will say, I found that when I did the whole piece, I used pretty much probably down to maybe about 1 inch. So almost a full bottle on the whole piece. And then I mixed up a second one. When it was dry, I did that second coat. And then I had to wash this whole thing out and clear all the paint out of it in order to be able to do this. Margaret, hi, good to see you. So you can see already that this is starting to pull up some of the green. I'm finding that as we're building up these layers, the colors are showing up a little bit faster. That first light gray coat, it just kind of softened it. It made it look a little bit cloudy more than any of the colors. So that's why I'm thinking we'll definitely go back in and add a little bit more of that in. But that is probably just about right for this first coat on the piece. I gotta shake this up every so often because it kind of jams up. Okay, so you can see if you look at this color now, you can start to see that green kind of popping through on this. And it may be okay, you know, once I take a look at this, it may be okay to just do this one layer of green, do another layer of the mid-tone gray, do a layer of the dark gray, and then finish off with a layer of the mid-tone gray, and then start getting into some detail work. Right now, I'm kind of thinking that might be the process, because I'm looking at this, and especially on your screen, and the green is really kind of popping, so I'm getting a lot of that. So I think that probably I'm going to finish spraying the whole thing with the green, and then let it dry, and perhaps move to, rather than doing a second coat of the green, go into a coat of the mid-tone gray, and then tomorrow morning try the dark gray, and later morning another coat of the light gray, and we'll see. I'll try and take some pics and post them onto the site for you. But I wanted to pop on, I know, not a long video, there's not a lot of painting happening because I really have to let this fully dry before I do the next coat of anything. Otherwise I get way too many drips happening. Which I don't want. I don't want to be reactivating all of the layers below it. But I wanted you to see kind of the process and the technique that I'm trying. Again, in my head it works. So we'll see. I didn't want the heaviness of a wash done with a brush. I wanted it really light so that it... again, much like our first coats of color where we had a lot of variation in the color, I wanted to have the washes go on with a lot of variation. And if I brush them on, then I don't get that. And sometimes a little bit more solid coverage. And if you don't have a light hand, you risk lifting all of the other layers below it because you reactivate them and your brush takes them away. But I also, if I didn't do the washes this way, you know, I could do a rag or I could do sponges, but again, it would be a little bit more patchy and not kind of that overall look with some of the softness I was looking for. So this is an experiment and you're along for the ride, but I'm kind of really liking the direction it's taken. As I said, if I get finished, I can always just do like a heavier wash with a paintbrush, or I can paint right over it. I've got a lot of flexibility still because these are all really light coats. It's not like each one is a full layer of paint in any way. Probably with the amount of paint that's on here, I'm only at maybe 1.5 coats of paint in entirety. So it's going on very light, but it's giving some of that variation, some of that distinction. And we're, after the green, going to go back into the gray tones to tone it down a little bit. And we'll see how that goes.
Say hello to your granddaughter. I think she's watching as well, because Sean's watching.
Oh, Sean's on. So Ellie, hopefully that's my granddaughter. Ellie, if you're watching, hi honey. I'm just gonna be finishing up right now, but so far I'm kind of having fun with this technique of this. It's a little bit more, I don't want to say it's more work or more effort, because, you know, apart from the continual squeezing of this, which is a little bit of a pain, but it is giving a different look to anything. Oh, Margaret, you're liking it too. Okay, good, honey. That's good to know. Sometimes I think I'm in these things alone until they're all done. But I'm liking the softness that it's bringing to the piece. And you can see, let me just lift you up just a little bit. Oops, sorry for the twist. You can see up at the top, it's just got the grays, the 2 coats of gray added on it. Doesn't have the green, so you can see the impact of just the green on this, and how much just that little bit of paint already kind of changes the look. So we'll go back into the greens and, into the grays, and we'll see how it goes. I will definitely be taking pictures in between the gray layers, so that when we're back together again, I'll be doing a different part of the technique. But you can see from this one, I wanted you guys to see how light the coverage was that I was adding on. So that if you're trying this at home, and again, the mister for this, not just a heavy duty spray bottle, it would go on too heavy, which can be a cool look in and of itself, but not what we're going for with this particular piece. So we need the mister to add on the paint really lightly and smooth, and I'm going to carry on. I'm going to turn it around and do the sides and the top, and then I think I'm going into the grays. I think that the green shows up well enough with just 1 coat, so that's kind of nice. Anyway, I'm going to carry on. I will definitely be taking pics and letting you guys see the progress of some of this misting, but I wanted you to see the technique. One, because if it doesn't work, don't try it. But if it did work, I wanted you to have the opportunity to add that to your painting arsenal as well. But right now, I'm kind of really, really loving how it's going and how it's looking. So I think that this is going to be an awesome technique and do some justice for this old piece. Take care. Hope you guys are having an awesome day. Go out, do something fun, do something creative, get your hands dirty. Take care.